Hello beautiful people, and welcome back to my channel. And if you are new, welcome. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I'm just taking that spoolie and brushing my hairs up in the direction that they grow, and I'm just flipping it over to the pencil side, and I'm outlining the bottom portion of my brows, starting from the very front and following the direction that my brows go. And you can make that line as dark as you want it. Just take your time when doing this so you don't have much to clean up at the end. And now I'm just filling that in just a little bit and making those little hairs towards the front. And now I'm about to outline the top portion of my brows and following the same steps at the bottom, the direction that the hair grows. And when I get to my arch part, I don't go as high as my arch goes, and I try to make it as rounded as I possibly can and then point it towards the end. And I'm filling that in just slightly because I don't want my brows to be too dark, but I want them to be dark enough that you can't see any of my skin. And now you want to do the same thing on this side. You want to outline the bottom portion of your brows, again following the direction that the hair grows. You want to take your time when doing this step so you don't have less work to clean up at the end. For me, I was shocked I did not have to speed up the video or cut this part out. This is in real time, and I finished my brows in under 5 minutes. You want to take your time though, so you, like I said, have less to clean up, and you don't want to have to start the whole thing over, especially if you like to do your brows after you do your foundation. And as I like to say, your brows should be sisters, not twins, but I like to get mine as close as possible. Right here, I just added on a lip sleeping mask because my lips was dry. It's best to use this at nighttime, and you will wake up and your lips will still be moisturized, but you can use it throughout the day as well. And again, as I stated in previous video, I am using that same concealer and going a little bit under my brows before going up to the top. And I want to get that line as crisp as I possibly can. You do not have to use the concealer. You can use your foundation, or if you do like to use a concealer that's the same shade as your skin tone, you can also use that. Again, take your time when doing this step. You don't want to go too fast and end up getting product over your brows, because you will have to wipe it off and redo it. You want to start off with less product as you possibly can. If you need to add more, then add more, but don't start off with a lot because it's going to be more work for you. I'm using a flat Wet n Wild brush. None of the Wet n Wild brushes come with like a number or a name. It's just when you go to like Walmart or Target, they should have like little name slots of the proper name of the brushes. For me, I got this one at Dollar Tree, but it is a Wet n Wild brush. But you can use any type of flat brush to get the same outcome. And I'm going all over the lid today because I will be adding some eyeshadow. Repeating the same steps, going slightly under my brow, spreading that product out before going directly under my brow to clean up that line. Repeating the same steps at the top of your brows that you did underneath when concealing. You honestly, if you don't want to, you don't have to conceal the top of your brows, and you definitely don't have to use this light of a concealer. You can use one that's the same color as your skin tone, or you can use foundation. You don't have to go with one straight swipe across unless you've been doing this for a while, because you can mess up your brows, especially when it comes to the arch or towards the end. So you want to kind of take your time when doing this so that you don't mess up your work. A little goes a long way. As you can see, I'm using this little tiny brush. A lot of product, excuse me, is not on the brush at all, but it may look like it in the video. But a little does go a long way. So just be mindful of the amount that you use, because a lot of times it goes to waste. And even though I didn't do one big swipe, I don't know if you guys can tell, but on the left side at the tail end, it is slightly shorter than it is on the right. And I did fix it later on in the video, but unfortunately I made a mistake and clipped that part out. But now I'm just going in with a small buffing brush from Real Techniques, and I'm just blending that out gently and very slow as I possibly can, so that I don't go over my brows again and mess up any of my work. Again, you can use whatever tools you have in front of you. You can use a beauty blender, a makeup wedge, or even a bigger brush. It just depends on what you want to use. I started off, when I first started doing makeup, with 3 brushes. 2 of them from Wet n Wild, and one of them, I can't even tell you where it was from, but it was one of those little oval brushes. If you check back at one of my earlier videos, you will see the brush that I'm talking about. If I remember, I will insert a picture. And I like to go in with a bigger foundation brush, and just to blend that out even more and make sure that I don't have a lot of product just caked up on my eyelids. And honestly, right here, I didn't have to blend out that much on my eyelids, considering I am going to go in with a little bit of setting powder, so it would have set that into place anyways, but I just chose to just go ahead and buff it out. This step is optional. You don't have to add any type of powder onto your lids after concealing if you don't want to. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But if I want my colors to be more bold and pigmented, I like to go in with the white from the NYX Jumbo Pencil. But if I just want the colors not to crease on me or anything like that, I like to add some type of powder. And since I was going for a more fall look, powder would do just fine. I wasn't going in with any type of summer or bright colors. For the eyeshadow palette, I'm going in with the Vivid Earth, and I'm using the Wild Nature palette, and I'm using as a transition color, I'm going in with that shade Ground. With this shade, it really didn't do nothing, as you can see, because it kind of blended in with that concealer as well as that translucent powder. But once I added on the next color, then it worked out pretty good. Before moving on to any other colors, you always want to make sure everything is properly blended. So always remember to blend, 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 blend before moving on. You never want to just stack colors on top of each other without blending, because you will have like harsh lines and it don't look good. And even though you really can't see this color difference on me, I still continue to blend, blend, blend. So when I go ahead and add on the next shade, everything will blend seamlessly. And now I'm going in with Rustic, and I'm using this as an outer V shade, and I'm just dabbing that on to see if I like the placement, and then I'm gonna go ahead and blend it around, and I'm making sure I blend it up into the transitional shade. And I'm just going to continue to pack that color on and blend it out until I feel like I can't blend no more. Repeating the same steps, just stamping that on to see if you like the placement. Well, since I did it on the other eye, I have to like the placement of it. And now I'm just blending that out. Now I'm just going back to the transitional color, which is the shade Ground, and I'm just adding a little more color on until I can make sure that everything properly blends. You want to go back and forth between your colors just to make sure that everything blends seamlessly. You don't want any type of harsh lines. I cannot state that enough. And now I'm just cutting my crease a little bit, and since there is no type of other product right here, you don't necessarily have to do this unless you need something tacky like I do for the next shade to stick to. And I'm just slightly cutting my crease and just tapping this into the places that I want it to go. And once I get to like towards the back area, I'm going to take my fingertip and I'm going to blend that out before going in with Rustic and blending that in with the concealer so it can go more seamless. Look more seamless. Now I'm just taking the shade Wild and I'm just placing this all over the lid where I added that concealer to. And again, the only reason why I added the concealer because I needed something tacky for this shade to stick to. This is not the right type of brush to do this with, but I did not want to dirty up another brush, so I'm just using what's in front of me because I had already dipped it in there, because that was the shade I was going to use towards the back area, and then I decided not to. So since I was wearing a green top, I just decided to go with all green eyeshadow look, and this has actually turned out very beautiful. I should have added a hint of color to it, but I love the way it turned out at the end. Now going back in with Ground, and I'm just taking that and making sure everything flows together. And you want to continue to do this until you cannot see any more harsh lines. If you do, just continue to blend until you can't see anymore. And these shadows are buildable. You can add as much as you want. For me, I didn't want it to be too bold because I wasn't going anywhere. But if you want it to stand out, just add more, considering you have to wear a mask for the most part. You want your eye area to be more noticeable than anything. Repeating the same steps, you want to just cut your crease just a little bit so you can have something tacky to work with. Especially if you're working with a pressed pigment, this will work wonders. But if it's more of like a shadow, you just need to build up that color and add this into everywhere that it needs to be. You want to pack it on very light, but enough that you get that coverage, and then take your finger and blend it out, and then go in with Rustic and make sure that you blend Rustic as well as that concealer together so it can be seamless, and flawless. Now I'm just applying Wild, and I'm applying Wild everywhere that I added that concealer and just pressing that in, making sure that I get that coverage, as well as doing some windshield wiping motions to blend that in with Rustic as well as Ground. And then I'm going to go back and forth between the brushes to make sure that everything is blended perfectly. And as of lately, I've been liking the powder before foundation. This will work wonders if you have oily skin. Even though I have dry skin, it works wonders for me. And I'm just adding on a little bit of translucent powder all over my face, especially my nose. That's where I get the oiliest. Nowhere else gets oily. And I just add just a little bit. You can add as much as needed. And honestly, you don't have to blend it out as much as I did. But this will also, if your foundation is not as full coverage as you would like it to be, this will give you a more full coverage foundation. And if you want more full coverage concealer, let the concealer sit a little longer for probably like 5 minutes. I wouldn't let it sit no more than 5 minutes because it may be too hard to blend. And now I'm just setting that with some setting spray, and I'm going to let that sit for a little while before going in with any type of primer. And the reason why you let it sit for a little while, because you want it to dry. If you go and add primer on top after spraying the setting spray, all you're doing is moving all of that product around, and it's going to look a mess. And now I just decided to unwrap my hair to make my process a little bit easier, since it was unwrapping anyways. And if you notice on the right side in the front that my hair is a little shorter right there, I did cut it a little bit because I did have some breakage, and so I just ended up trimming it so when it grows back that everything is perfectly fine. And now I'm just adding on some primer, and the primer that I like to use, that I love to use as of lately, is the Milk Grip Hydra Grip primer, and I love this primer because it does exactly what it says. It helps that foundation grip to the skin, and you want to let that sit for a little minute before adding anything onto your face and blending anything out. But a few things has been cut out so the video won't be too long. And now I'm just adding a few dots of foundation, and I'm going to go ahead and buff that into my skin. The foundation that I chose to use today is the Sephora Best Skin Ever foundation. This is one of my favorite foundations that I have used, and it's not been too many that I've loved. It's only been a total of 3 foundations that I have tried that I absolutely love and will forever purchase, and this just happened to be one of them. This is my first bottle that I'm still on, and I have 3 other ones left. That's how much I love it, and I had to get it while I seen it because they was running out of my shades pretty fast. And I just like to blend that out and add more when it's needed. This is perfect for someone who has dry skin. It's not too drying and it's not too oily looking. It gives you, like it says, best skin ever. If you ever had a hard time finding any type of foundation or concealer in your shade, check out foundation.com. And if you know other foundations that you have perfectly been matched with, I think you need about 3 of them. You have to enter in the information, and it will pull up just about any foundation shade that you would love to use or that you want to try in your shade. If you having a hard time finding your shade, I suggest you go to like a Sephora, a MAC, or any type of makeup places and have them do swatches onto your face to see, you know, help you find your shade. I know with the pandemic going on, some places will not do it, but they will swatch it on the back of your hand. And if they swatch it on the back of your hand, just take it and put it on your face yourself. And you probably need to do this at 3 different locations so you can have 3 different places that you can go off of to find your perfect shade in just about any foundation or concealer that you would love to use. I will also insert an iCard at the top to show you the video of me doing the process to show you exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, and as you can see at my brows, they are a little bit close together, but once I add that the rest of that foundation that's on the brush, I don't add any more after doing my forehead, and I blend that out as well as blending that down onto my nose just to spread my brows out a bit because my brows are never that close. And I had a little concealer on my hand that I forgot about, and I swiped it with my brush, and I decided since it's going under my eyes anyway, why not just add it under there to give me more highlight. But it kind of wasn't enough to do anything, so I ended up having to go in with another color anyways. And I like to continue to blend this out to make sure that I get everywhere covered. You want to use a brush as well as a beauty blender just to make sure that the brush is not leaving any type of streaks or anything on your face. For the most part it don't, but just in case. Now I'm just going to take my spoolie and go from the foundation from the center of my brows and work my way back just to give me that more faded look. And when in doubt, blend it out. Just in case you missed a spot, you want to continue to blend before moving on to any other step. The same thing that you do with eyeshadow. And now I'm just going to take a little bit of setting spray. And what you see me spraying on my face, the oil looking stuff, that's SPF. And I'm just spraying it on. Even though it's nighttime, I just love the shine that it gives, especially for me if I'm wearing any type of matte foundation, it helps. And then I'm going in with a matte setting spray. I know that kind of contradicts using the other spray, but it works for me. And now I'm just going in with a damped beauty blender, and I'm just blending everything into my skin. And this helps everything just be more smooth and seamless. Again, I did not have to do this step at all, but since I'm going in with any type going in with some concealer as well as setting powder, I needed to blend out just a little bit more. And then my eyes started burning. Be careful when you're using that Resting Boss Face from Huda. I love the product, but it is kind of strong, and no matter how tight I have my eyes closed, they still always water. Just to give a little bit of highlight underneath my eyes, I'm going in with light concealer. And yes, this concealer I feel is way too light, but considering I purchased it, I'm going to use it all up. You always want to use a concealer that is 2 shades lighter than your foundation. But if you want that more highlighted underneath your eyes, go in with one that is, you know, like this shade or lighter. For me, this is probably as light as I'm gonna go. It does not really highlight too much because I don't let it sit for that long, because I don't know how this one dries down. So I blend it out right away. And plus, again, I'm not going anywhere. This is just a video that I thought you guys will enjoy, as well as me enjoy making it. So I said, why not? And I actually love this concealer. I love how it applies and everything. The only thing I do not like is the top of it. It's kind of like a little sponge, and it's kind of hard to come out. So yeah, but other than that, it works perfectly fine. It gives me the coverage that I want and need, so that works. And like I said, it does blend out perfect. Now I'm just taking that same damped beauty blender, and I'm just blending out this concealer. Again, I did not let the concealer sit that long because I did not know how fast this concealer would dry down, considering I only used this a handful of times, and I don't necessarily need the full coverage concealer unless it's like for under my eyes. But for the most part, I don't really need it because my eyes crease a lot, and I don't like a lot of product to be under my eyes because they water. So it's just best that I don't let anything sit for too long, because I don't want to also be blending forever. And I'm just going to take that brush to help blend out the edges of that concealer so I don't have a harsh line. Now, if you are planning on adding on any type of bronzer or blush, you don't necessarily have to do this step. But since I'm not adding on any of that, I decided that I'm going to do it. Or you can continue to use your beauty blender to blend it out even more. Just flip it over to another side, and you can do that also. And I like to continue to blend it out before going in with any type of powder, because if it's already creasing, By the time you add your powder on, it's going to stay like that. Your eyes is going to crease regardless whether you add the powder right away or not. So it is what it is. You just don't want it to be noticeable. So you want to blend that all the way out. Now I'm just going in with some setting powder, and this setting powder is for medium to deep skin, and you want to use a little bit at a time before going in with, you know, a whole bunch, just to set everything into place. I am going to go in with a nice amount onto my nose because that is the oiliest part of my face, and yeah, I don't want that to be glossy or anything, at least for a few hours when I have to go in with a touch-up, which for the most part you shouldn't have to, but for me, no matter how much powder I put on my nose will get oily, so I do have to go in with some. That's why I don't go in with much product onto my nose as far as foundation or concealer goes, because it gets the oiliest. And now I'm just blending that out, adding some translucent powder onto my brows just to keep that concealer locked into place, as well as my brows. I like my brows to be more on the matte side versus the glossy, because I feel like if they're too glossy, they can kind of melt away. Yeah, especially if you're one of those people like me who like forget they have on makeup. Now I'm just going to take this powder brush and I'm just brushing powder all over my face. I don't add too much because I do want my face to be on the more glowy side than anything, but I'm just setting everything into place before going in with a setting spray. You can use a pressed powder for this step, but I don't. And I'm using Element off that same eyeshadow palette and just adding that to my inner tear ducts just to give it that more highlight look. And I am going to add a little bit onto my lip, down the center of my nose, as well as my brows. And I believe that part got cut out, but it's there. Now I'm just taking my brush and I'm blending Wild into Element, or Element into Wild, just so that can be seamless and it doesn't look like I just slapped product anywhere. Going in with my favorite lip liner. This is Nightmoth by MAC, and I'm just outlining my lips. And honestly, you don't have to do this step. If you don't want to, you can just add on your lipstick or your lip gloss and go about your day. But just adding that on just to give it a different type of look. And I'm puckering my lips together and moving that lip liner around. Normally I would use like my finger or a brush or something to do this step, but when you pucker your lips, it'll do the job. And I'm going in with my butter gloss on top. This is, I believe, Madeleine, and everything that I use will be listed down below. I've been thinking about doing a video of me telling and showing you guys how the products that I use and how I got my hair to get this long. Comment down below if that's something that you're interested in. Now I'm just adding some more setting spray just to set everything into place, and you want to do that before adding on any type of mascara, because your mascara will start running unless you're using like a waterproof mascara. I don't recommend using waterproof mascaras because, at least for me, I have a few of them, but I noticed that they're more hard to get off than anything, so I don't really recommend them. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this video as well as I did making it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on all of my social medias. Have a happy Thanksgiving.